Has the online fitness coaching bubble finally burst? Are all these underqualified, underskilled online coaches finally being called out? And why are there so many online coaches heading back to the gym floor to personal train clients in person? In today's video, we're going to explore the COVID online coaching bubble that started, and we're going to look at all the way through to the fundamentals of why these online coaches are going back on the gym floor. And whether you think that's a step back or not, I'm going to explore the psychology behind it. And I'm also going to give you, watching this, a foolproof plan to make sure you stick to whatever business model you prefer. Because at the end of the day, online coaching and in person coaching, it is just a business model. So let's get stuck right into the video. So, first things first, we need to look at is a couple of different timelines. First of all, we need to think about the big, massive COVID boom that happened. Okay, so round about 2021, 2022, there was a huge, massive influx of online coaches in on the market. So, putting this in black here, you have online coaches at the start of 2020, 2021, we didn't have an awful lot of online coaches. We had a lot of personal trainers, but not a lot of online coaches. And then what happened was the gyms closed down, which meant there was a lot of people who couldn't personal train. Now, what happened to personal trainers during this time frame is they either went out of business, got a job in Tesco or these other places, or they were quick to pivot and they moved all their business online. And before you know it, they went, I'm no longer a burnt out personal trainer. This online thing that I've been forced to do, I kind of like it. This is actually pretty cool. So online coaches, there wasn't many. And so the supply was very low. So the supply was low, but the demand for online coaches was very, very high. So what happened was online coaches weren't really there. There was a bunch of them, a whole bunch, of course, but there wasn't many. And so the personal trainers, who are typically in-person coaches, PTs, they were in abundance. There was a lot of them. And they either transitioned to become an online coach or they left the industry. Now, you might be thinking, Chris, well, that was 2021, 2022. We're in 2026 now. COVID's not impacting things. Well, I'd love to say that it isn't, but it is. Like, I know because I've helped hundreds of clients over the last few years. Most of them, their story will be, yeah, I was a personal trainer, then COVID hit. Like, if you speak to anybody in the fitness space, there's always a part of their journey that was a fork in the road when they say, yeah, so basically during COVID, this happened. Okay, always. I know because I'm in this space right now and I have these coaches in my service. So PTs either left the industry or they became online coaches. And what happened was there was no longer not a low supply. Basically, the supply evened out. So all of these online coaches, all these PTs became online coaches on top of the online coaches who were already there. And before you know it, the demand as COVID started to settle was lower, but the supply was high. So all of a sudden you're in this position now where if you look at here, this is the demand and this is the supply. So there's all these online coaches everywhere making a lot of money. People are hearing about all this money that they're making. They don't want to go back on the gym floor when COVID starts to go back to normal and the gym's open. And they go, I've actually got a pretty sound life here. This freedom thing that everybody talks about. Well, here I am. Like, this is great. And now, here we are in 2026, where the supply is even higher. Everybody wants to be an Instagram influencer. Everybody wants to post and be in Bali and Dubai and all these things. But the demand has evened out. So now there's this big gap here. And this is all the competition. Not sure why I wrote squint there, but this is the competition. And so this is one of the big reasons that a lot of online coaches are going back to the gym floor. Now I'm going to explain to you what is the gym floor and what is an in-person business versus an online business. So now that we've very quickly covered how this kind of online coaching bubble, it's not how it started because online coaching has been about for a long time, but it's certainly how it boomed during post-COVID era. So let's look at it here, right? Online coaching, this is online coaching in a nutshell. So online coaching, what exactly is online coaching? Well, you're online, right? So I'm going to do online coaching here and I'm going to do PT. So you're online, which means and I'm oversimplifying here. There's obviously a whole host of stuff that I've covered in this channel in terms of strategies and stuff to grow your online business. But essentially, what you have right here, because you're an online business, is you have content. You have to post content on a social media platform or on the WWW World Wide Web in order for you to grow your online business, right? So the reason that you post content online is so that you can end up getting followers. That's the stage before they become clients, isn't it? So you do that, you post content to get followers, and then these particular followers, you either DM or you hope that they DM you. So there has to be a DM conversation here to a degree. Sometimes it gets skipped by a call. So this might be a phone call, this might be a Zoom call, whatever it might be. So there's a DM conversation that has to happen here. The followers, these people have to obviously, follow you and become part of it. And here we have videos, we have carousels, whatever type of content that you post, okay? Then you have to have a call. This call has to obviously convert to a sale. So this is a sales process. And then from there, the last piece of the jigsaw is, of course, the most important part, is you need to get the result that you promised all the way along here, right? So that's the result stage. So that's online coaching in a nutshell. Next, we have in-person PT. So if we look at in-person PT in a nutshell, what is it? Well, let me just get some more juice here on the pen. In-person PT. Well, to oversimplify it again, we have two parts to it. We have an individual who meets with another individual in a location and they shake hands. They're either happy or they're not happy. And the next thing is they start coaching together. So they sign up. Now, of course, in this little phase here, you have to talk to them about their goals and all that sort of stuff. But essentially what happens here, and of course this next part here, is they have to still get a result in person. So this is where it gets interesting, and this is fundamentally why people are going back to the gym floor. Now, I'm going to caveat all of this at the end of this video, where I kind of talk about like your discipline, your immediate goal, your long-term goal, your preference, all of that stuff. But right now, let's stick to this middle and main part of this video. So I'm going to start drawing this on green here, because just so that it stands out. But look, let's look at each stage here. Content, okay? What does content require? Well, it requires fundamentally, it requires skill, okay? It requires skill and time for you to put stuff out there. Now, I will say as well that each of these sections have loads of subsections to it. Like content, for example, it requires your brand, it requires your personal brand, it requires your voice, who you want to talk to, who you don't want to talk to, your target market within that content. So there's loads of subsectors here, but in the interest of this video not being too long, let's just focus on each main part. So content requires skill, absolutely. Getting followers requires skill, because you have to nail this, and then when you're creating your content, you build things up and then you keep testing stuff. And not only that, you want to keep followers coming back and viewing your stuff, liking your stuff, because that's the metrics that can matter long term towards converting into DMs, calls and stuff. So that requires skill. DMs, we all know the skill here that this requires is very, very high. Now, if you're some outlier where you don't have to send DMs and people just keep coming to you every week, great, good for you. Now, the people watching this who don't send DMs, don't want to send DMs and just have an average business, then this page in general isn't for you, because I want to speak to ambitious people, so maybe that's not for you. But that requires skill here. Now, we talk about content, it's probably got like a 2-star on the skill rating. Maintaining followers and stuff is probably a 1-star on the skill rating. If we look at DMs, this is probably, in my opinion, I would say 3 to 4 star. I would probably say 4 stars of skill needed to nurture people, speak to them, make them feel seen and heard, get as much information out of them as possible without them rambling to say stuff you don't need. Requires you dropping your ego as well. And then we have calls, so actually conducting sales calls. And again, if you're some software totty that says, I don't need to do sales calls, I'm amazing, good for you. One day you might realize that the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and if you want to build a multiple 7-figure business, then if you don't, cool, again, maybe you want to build a multiple 6-figure, which still requires a lot of skills. So Doing this calls requires the most amount of skills out of any of this, in my opinion. Okay, it's a really tough thing, especially for fitness businesses when like, a lot of you never got into this game to sell, you got into the game to coach people. Hopefully you've matured enough to realise that you run a business now. So sales requires a lot of skills. And then the sales part of it is just conversion and stuff like that. So you could argue these are very similar, but the fundamental part of this is that you need to pitch your offer. You need to sell your services. You need to keep selling it to the client for MRR to continue growing the business. And then, of course, getting a client result requires a ton of skills. And you could argue you can get away with 2-star, but you obviously want to get yourself all the way to 5 stars the more experience you get. So that is the online coaching skills required. Of course, you compound these skills and build upon them. Next is the in-person PT. Now, location-based, like speaking to people to come in for a conversation, it obviously requires skill. But see, if you've got a personality, it doesn't require any skill. And I want to help you understand here. Look at how much time and effort it takes to convert someone online versus you coming in and meeting someone in person and saying, hey, do you coach people in the Pure Gym down the road? Yeah, I do. Oh, okay, I'm thinking about getting personal training. Why don't you pop in tomorrow at 1 o'clock and see me? Yep, okay, cool. Hey, how you doing? So this is the gym here. This is how we'll do it. Do you know what? This feels good. Okay. And then signing up. I mean, do you want to sign up? Here's this. Yes, of course, you need a little bit of skill to do this. I'm guessing you've probably had transferable skills from previous jobs, so it might carry you through. It's a 1-star. And again, this skill set requires still a result. It requires probably less here because they're in person and you can literally hold a hand through the workouts and speak to them all the time. Online coaching, you have to articulate yourself better. You have to set up systems and processes that makes the client more autonomous by themselves. So hopefully you're now starting to see a picture, a non-emotional picture, by the way, of this is what's required to build an online business. This is what's required to get and build an in-person PT business. Now, of course, there's other things on this like managing tax and managing clients and all of the other jazz. But this is one of the biggest reasons that online coaches are going back on the gym floor to either do small group PT or in-person PT because of the massive amount of skill sets required to do it. It is not easy. You're going to have to learn these skill sets. You're going to have to invest to learn how to create content that engages people, that hooks people. You're going to have to learn the changes that keeps happening with it all the time. Followers, you're going to have to learn how to keep them engaged, keep them coming back, and eventually move into your DMs because this is a big chunk of it. And then calls, you're going to have to learn how to conduct calls. Can you outsource some of this? Absolutely, but there's going to be a point in time you're going to have to do all of it, right? And now we see in-person PT here as well. So I want you to think about this. Which one of these is closest to the pound, closest to you actually making money? Of course it's this. So this is why in-person PT is harder than online coaching. And this is why, or one of the reasons why, people are leaving the space. They're going back to in-person. Now let's look at the other side, because I know some of you will be screaming at me going, yeah, Chris, but that's not why I did it. So what are the other reasons that people are going back on the gym floor? Well, I'll tell you this right now. I'm going to write this massive discipline. The discipline it requires for you to work online is ridiculous. Now, let's take in-person PT. What do? Well, do you know what? It's hard work. You go in at 6 a.m, coach your clients. Eventually, you end up building a really nice diary for yourself. But it's hard work. It's physical. You do about 12,000 steps per day in a big facility. You're coaching people. It's exhausting, man. Like talking to them and making them feel great. You're the best part of their hour. If it's a group coaching thing you're doing, then you have to build it and make sure everybody's doing the right things. But at the end of the day, you love it. You're in your role. It feels like your comfort zone. It's amazing. It's still hard work, right? But the discipline required for online coaching is a different level, right? So when you're in person, you're balancing the sessions. Then you're home on your laptop doing a bunch of stuff. Then you have to train yourself. I get that. I'm not saying you don't have any discipline in person. I'm saying the discipline online is even harder. You might think, Chris, but all the time you've got. Trust me, the laziness I've seen from online coaches is ridiculous. This is one of the reasons that people are going back on the gym floor, because they lack discipline, because you are your own boss. And some people hire a business coach like me to tell them what to do, and then they don't like it and leave, because it's like, oh my God, I'm my own boss and I'm getting called for not doing things. The discipline required to be a successful online coach is really, really tough. Sometimes you're just like, nah, I'm going back in person because all the other stuff I mentioned there. Okay. Next, well, What's the next part of the next reason that people are going back in person? Well, I think we have to look at your immediate goal. Think about that for a minute. If I've mentioned all this stuff there, right, about how hard it is to grow online compared to in person, you might turn around and say, Chris, I literally just want £10,000 in the bank so that I can go ahead and get my mortgage and have a deposit and pay for it. And so your immediate goal might just be to get a family house. Your missus is pregnant or whatever, or if you're on your own or whatever, you might just be, I want to get out my family home, or I want to travel, I want to go abroad. So I need X amount to comfortably travel and become an online coach. So your immediate goal might be that. So one of the reasons that you might stop online coaching, because you're still acquiring skills and it's very difficult and you're trying your best, but it's taking a long time, longer than you thought. COVID, it was massive. You got all these inquiries. Now you're here. So you might just realize that I just want a mortgage. I just want to get away from this city that I'm in. So your immediate goal might require you to go back in person. Why? Because you've realized that it's much easier to make money in person. You can get 5, 6, 7, 8K per month in your bank for the next 6 months. You're going to take X amount from that and then you're going to go online. So that's an understandable reason why you might go back in person. The next one is the long-term goal. So you might realise that actually I don't really know why I went online. I've during COVID I had all this interest, my socials were booming, had all these inquiries. I was just like, why don't I just go online? I wanted to travel at that point in time. Do you know what? I've got a new boyfriend and a new girlfriend and I'm quite settled here. I just want to get my house done up. I want to do other things. You know, I want to put money in my stocks and shares. I want to get a pension built up. And my long-term goal really is that I might want a facility. Or, do you know what, I actually just want to have a coach work under me and I don't want to keep travelling. Like, I've done it, I'm fine. So your long-term goal might dictate the fact that you want to go back in person, right? Next, almost done here, is your preference. Look, people went online because it was the cool thing to do, and that's what they, like, I had a PT work with me and they were like, they announced it, they went online, that's me fully online, I've quit the gym floor, and they were acting like it was a big massive deal. But they weren't making that much money, and then they went back on PT like a couple of months later. And I'm not saying that to say anything bad, I'm saying it to say that they did it for social media. They did it to look cool and keep up with the cool kids, that online coaching's better. People seem to think that online coaches are better than PTs. They're absolutely not, right? When I was a PT, like, I done everything an online coach does, and I also done my hours because they needed it. Like, there's this thing about the online coaches say about PTs that they don't, it's just your session. It's like, no. Certainly not the PTs I help. The PTs and in-person coaches, even the gym owners that I help, they have systems and processes like an online coach. Maybe not as dialed in because they don't have to be, it would be overkill, but they certainly provide a lot of support out with the sessions, trust me. But anyway, it's your preference. You might just prefer like getting in-person coaching and just enjoy it. So see if that's you. Don't try and cater to social media. Don't think you're any worse of a coach because you love helping people in person. Do your thing, right? Now, the last thing I want to cover here, because I'm looking at this for like literally every different angle, I hope you can see that, is you need to understand the cap, okay? So there is no doubt about it. When you're an in-person PT, in-person, one-to-one, you're going to hit a cap, right? There's no doubt about it, because why? Well, you're trading time for money. Now, if you're an in-person PT and you're doing group PT, or small group PT, then you'll hit the cap a lot later, like that. Why? Because, well, you're multiplying your time because you're helping 3 people in one session, for example, 1 hour. And so you're going to hit a cap there. And of course, when you're an online coach, you're only trading your time behind the screens. You're not actually physically trading your time. So your cap's kinda endless. Of course, you then need maybe a coach to help you come on board and stuff. But again, I go back to it. What's your goals? Like, what do you want to achieve? I would just say this, right? Like, I don't care if you just want to make $3,000 a month. I don't care if you want to make 50 grand a month online coach. What I want to say right to the camera here is, like, do it for you, make it work for you. But another thing I'll say is, don't just sit there pretending that is what you want. If it's truly what you want, great. But I know people, right, who sit here at a cap of 1-to-1 at 3K and they go, I don't want to go online, I hate online coaching. It's like, first of all, your business model is terrible. Like, you're charging a low amount. You aren't even like stretching out your time enough. Your average selling price per client is rubbish. Like, you're only selling in seasons. So if you want a guideline on this, right, whether you want to make more money or not, an in-person PT should be making at least 6k, right? Do the maths on it. You should be £40 at least an hour. Do the maths, you should be 6k, right? And again, you might go, Chris, who are you to say what I should be doing? I'm saying your business model should at least be able to get to that. If you do the numbers and you physically can't by the hours, you'd have to be doing 50, 60 hours a PT. You're not charging enough money. So take aside what your preference are, and for a business coach, take into the fact that you're not running an efficient business model, right? And if you're an in-person small group PT, honestly, you could go anywhere from 10 to 15k here, depending on like if you're in a private gym, commercial gym and stuff where you're capped by time. And of course, online coach, you can, earn upwards of whatever you want to earn. So I just want to make you aware of the caps. That's the reality of the cap when it comes to, being a PT. Like there's nothing wrong with being a PT for your sake and for your longevity and your future. Just make sure you're in the right business model with it and you're not just trading too much time for money. So that is it. Hopefully now you realise, let me go back. This is one of the reasons why so many online coaches are going back to the gym floor, because it's difficult. It's hard. It requires a lot of skills. Things are changing, things are moving. In-person PT, you're much closer to that money. You're closer to the pound, as I always say. But you've also got to realise what your short-term goal is, long-term goal, and take that into consideration. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.